We'll go quickly on this one. New player via the transfer portal, a new player with a new school that can immediately step in and say, I'm going to make an impact on this team, and because of me, I'm going to take this program to new heights.
Well,
or not new heights,
or put them in a contention. I think a spotlight player, is an easy one. A Sam Hartman going to Notre Dame, because you're the quarterback at Notre Dame. You're under the spotlight. He's had a lot of success running a different style offense, but I love his poise. I love his leadership. I love how he wins. I think he's going to be in a big spotlight, and I think that's going to be interesting. Devin Leary was an exciting player at NC State, and now he's at Kentucky. Okay. They're going back. They're kind of, Kentucky's that sleeper team a little bit, that they play a style. They play good defense under Mark Stoops. They're physical. Okay. They can run the ball. They got a little bit of a gunslinger at quarterback. Can they come up and take a big jump? I'm excited about that one. An interesting one to me that was out there is Cade McNamara. Okay. Iowa, okay, we know they're going to play defense, right? I mean, we know that if they can score 21 points, they might go undefeated. If they can score 21 points in every game, they're that type of a team. We know they can run the ball. But you know what? When he was at Michigan, they were that type of team. But he's got the size. He might be a step above a quarterback they've had in a long time that can make some things happen in the pass game, right? Because the one thing they need to do is score points. Okay. And you can sit there and say, we're going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We're going to be physical. We're going to play ball control. Eventually you got to score points. Does he have the arm that can push the ball down the field and score points for him? That's going to be great. And those are the quarterback guys that are out there.
Right. And look, and that's on Brian Ferentz to finally make something with a quarterback at Iowa, because Cade McNamara does come in. He led Michigan to the college football playoff. He's got the bona fides.
Yeah.
Use him, because if you're Iowa, you may not get this opportunity again to bring in a guy that's that skilled to match the team that you have to always win a winnable Big Ten West.
You don't have to go spreader that. You just have to have a throw game. But there are some guys out there I'm going to give you that are excited, that I can't wait to see, that are the non-quarterback guys that I think are impact players. Okay? I got to watch him and call a game with him last year. Is the Carson Steele, running back at Ball State.
Yeah.
Going to UCLA and Chip Kelly's offense. I mean, this guy is a big physical athlete, catch the ball out of the backfield, can do a lot of things. Not many people had heard about him at Ball State. Going into UCLA, and Chip always highlights they're a quarterback with the run and all that, but they always have a running back that's exciting. And I think he could be really exciting. I think he's one. I think Jaheim Bell, leaving South Carolina, going to Florida State. Bell, he's a weapon guy. He's not a tight end. He's a
pocket knife.
He's not a fullback. He's everything. Well, you know what? Florida State's got some weapons back. And now here's this utility, this utility knife coming out that Mike Norvell can have a lot of fun with. The last one is Jordan Birch, I think, leaving South Carolina, going to Oregon, who was you're talking a legitimate SEC defensive lineman.
Yep.
Going into the Pac-12 with a D-line that's already decent and an offense that's good, can all of a sudden he ignite that Oregon defense with other good players coming back and other good players around them? Can they all of a sudden step up and be maybe a defensive factor in that league that is just going to be full of, you're looking in that league right now with USC and Washington, the Oregons of the world, can they make a stop, and he gives them that spark defensively to make a couple of stops you need to push Oregon to the top of that league.
With a head coach like Dan Lannon, who comes from a defensive background, so he wants to make Oregon a defensive factory. And what I loved about every guy that you mentioned, especially the Florida State as well, Jaheim Bell, is he goes to a head coach who's offensive minded. And a lot of times when these transfer portal players go somewhere, fit typically sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Now you're looking at two teams who've proved to be contenders. In fact, it could be a factor this year, getting two pieces to maybe complement the puzzle they'll need to win a conference championship. But I want to go back to Devin Leary here as we wrap up in the Matt Barrie Show. Devin Leary, to me, makes Kentucky the one team you just don't want to have to play if you have something on the line. If you're playing for something at the end of your season and he stays healthy and Kentucky's playing good football and the offensive line's a little more experienced than what we saw last year with Will Levis, Devin Leary to me is the guy that's like, God, we got to play Kentucky. You just don't want to mess with them. They're going to be that team that ruins a lot of things for a lot of people this year.
Absolutely, because he has that gunslinger mentality. You know
Right.
they're going to be physical and play defense. And all of a sudden, you're going to look out there and say, if he gets hot, he can go make an end of a game in a fourth quarter. He puts two drives together, making things happen out there on the field that you didn't expect to happen. And I think he's got that persona, that personality that he can get that done. And it's going to be interesting to see because, the other thing in the SEC, you go on the road to Kentucky later in the season too. It's most SEC schools, I coached at Florida. If you're playing and the temperature hits below 60, you need heat. They want heaters on the sideline, right? You go up to Kentucky in late October or November and play a night game up there. It's going to be freezing cold, like cold compared to regular SEC country. And I think he's going to bring it with that mentality, that gunslinger mentality. He's won a bunch of big games and had pulled a bunch of big upsets when he was at NC State. And so I think he's not going to be nervous about going to play at Georgia or going to play some of these big teams. He's going to sit there and say, I got a little chip on my shoulder to win this game.
God, it is going to be so much fun. I'm so glad we actually got to talk about actual football instead of this realignment and all this other garbage. But there are players across the country, new school, new fit, but can have an immediate impact, which is why that's the good in the transfer portal when a lot of times you hear the bad in the transfer portal. That'll do it for this week's edition of the Matt Barrie Show. In the coming weeks, Mullen and I will have a couple of announcements to make about our upcoming season, but we are inching closer. I believe I have it at 3.5 weeks until that first kickoff. And I can't wait for it. Coach, good stuff as always. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
You too. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.